So good morning. Coming to our next session. This session is an introduction to polity. This is an introductory session to polity. So as I said in yesterday's class, so we are going to see every day a subject and scope as well as the nature of the subject, the importance of the subject in the prelims, mains as well as in the interview, how to approach the subjects, what are the source materials, and also some of the sample questions we are going to see, right? Right. See here, uh, in the prelims, of course, as we said yesterday, this prelims, even though it is a qualifying nature, it is going to be a important. It will play an important part in the preparation as well as in the examination process. Why? Because only when you qualify the prelims, you will go to the mains. And you know that, right? Qualifying marks fall somewhere around 50%. Just, right? So, if you are going to get 100 out of 200, that is 100 out of 200, right? Definitely you're going to be in. You're going to take the mains, right? Which means that this examination, the level of examination is tough in the sense, right? If you do not have a proper approach towards the prelims, right, it is hard to crack the prelims. Say, the problem with 80% of the aspirants is that they do not crack the prelims. Of course, so they may be good in the subject, right? So they may have a good analytical skills, but still the problem is that you can show your skills and you can show your writing as well as, right? So personality only when, right? You clear the prelims. Therefore, if you look at the prelims, this core subjects which play an important role in the clearing the prelims. I would say that what is a core subject? Say there are 5 core subjects. So we have seen 7 areas yesterday, right? So history, geography, right? So polity, economics, science and tech, environment, as well as current affairs in all the above areas. 7 areas we have seen, right? Of which I would say that 5 areas form the core areas. Why core areas, right? Core area is one where the questions are so certain you can, right? So expect questions from that. Say these questions will be asked only from the book. So book is what? It may be any book. So I will tell the source, right? So where these questions are called textbook questions, and they will base the questions based on the textbook. So where you don't need to go outside. So which means sure shot, right? If you prepare for these areas, I would say that, right? So you can easily attend 60 questions, right? So which comes from the book. That's why we call it a core area, right? How much marks we need? We might need 100 marks. So therefore here, right? How to, right? So grasp the core areas. Say, I said 5 areas are core areas. One is the order of importance. I will say the order of importance சொல்லும், right? Say first core area அப்படின்னா அது வந்து polity. This is an important area, right? So I will say why it is core area, because it covers 60 questions, right? So first area of importance is polity. Next it is history, including ancient, medieval as well as modern, right? Then geography, and then economics, and then environment. So actually I am taking only the static part. So I already said current affairs can be asked in any of the areas, right? So where it can be asked in polity. So here also in geography, economics, environment, history. So current affairs has scope throughout the syllabus, right? So leave it. But here I talk about the 60 questions. So where these 5, right, subjects are going to play a major role. One, if one is thorough with this subject, right? This is what the strategy of prelims is, right? One is thorough with these core areas. I would say that, right? So half of your preparation is over for the prelims, right? Say, and current affairs. So in the last class, we're going to see the current affairs. And the current affairs link can be understood only when you have a conceptual understanding of the core areas, right? So of which the prime area or the prime core area is polity. So because of the significance of polity in this, right? So civil service examination, I have taken it, introduction of the polity as the first class, right? Say now, coming to polity. So I say, among the 5 areas, right, among the 5 subjects, polity is so important. Why? You may ask, right? Because the role it is going to play in 3 areas, right? One, in the prelims, other in the mains, then in the interview. So you may wonder, sir, interview குள்ள பாலிட்டி கேக்குறாங்க. நீங்க தான் சொன்னீங்களே நேத்து சப்ஜெக்ட்டே கேட்க மாட்டாங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. It is not like that, right? So this polity is a subject which is static as well as dynamic. Actually in the இருக்கிற 5 சப்ஜெக்ட்லயுமே, right, out of these 5 subjects, polity is the most dynamic subject. So and it's also very very easy subject, right? At the same time, if you miss the fundamentals, right, so it may look easy, but so you may miss the examination also. Therefore here, so the importance of polity should be understood not only in clearing the examination but also, right, so getting into the service. So therefore here, right, this polity, again I say, even if you get into the service, right, so you have to apply rules and regulations. So again polity helps you, right? So therefore here, if you look at polity, it plays an important role in prelims, mains as well as in the interview. Say what role it plays in the prelims? Of course, right, the number of questions. Say polity can be asked as a static part as well as a dynamic part. So I'll go for some model questions after this, right? The static part is what? As I said, one that is conceptual, right, direct or factual, which is asked from a source material. The source material, most probably it comes from, right, the standard textbook. What is a standard textbook? The standard textbook is one which is available throughout India because it's an all India examination, right? So where it should be available throughout. That is why we say NCERT. So actually, நம்ம தமிழ்நாடு டெக்ஸ்ட் புக் சொசைட்டி புக் இருக்கும், எடுத்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய விஷயம் இருக்கு. சில நம்ம என்சிஆர்டி ஹிஸ்டரியோட தமிழ்நாடு ஹிஸ்டரி நல்லா புக், சூப்பர் புக் அது, ரைட்? பட் ஸ்டில், ரைட், ஸோ வை ஐ வி சே என்சிஆர்டி அப்படின்னா த்ரூ அவுட் இந்தியா அவைலபிள் சோர்ஸ் அப்படின்னா என்ன இருக்கும்? NCERT is the available source. That's why we say NCERTs, right? Then there are some standard books in the market, right? So where the questions come from. Say therefore in the polity on the static area, I would say in prelims the static area questions motto 12 to 16 numbers. 12 to 16 numbers வரும். Last year பாத்தீங்கன்னா in 2019 16 questions were asked from polity. Say out of 100 you'll get thing 16 questions were asked from polity, that from static area, right? And we have dynamic area. What is dynamic area? Current affairs. So if current affairs, the bills passed, what is happening around. So if article 370 for example, it deals with Kashmir, the status of Kashmir. Now last year you look at thing, so it was a hot debate then, August, right? So August மாசம் பார்த்தோம்னா போன வருஷம் என்ன பண்ணிட்டாங்கன்னா article 370 was abrogated, அதை நீக்கிட்டாங்க. So in Kashmir என்ன ஆகி போச்சு? It has been Jammu Kashmir state வந்து ரெண்டா பிரிச்சாங்க. It's bifurcated, right? So into, right, so Kashmir and Ladakh ரெண்டு யூனியன் டெரிட்டரியா கொண்டு வந்துட்டாங்க. So which means that there's a change in situation. For polity change here, அதான் current affairs, right? So now this, right, so polity may also reflect in current affairs, where current affairs எடுத்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it may range from 4 to 6 numbers. 4 to 6 numbers. So whatever may be the, right, so questions, minimum 12 plus 4 16, 16 plus 6 22. Say from 16 to 22 questions will be asked in polity. Roughly if we, right, so pogo for, right, so approximate thing 20 questions, we take it as an average 20 questions, which means 20% of the this questions, 20 out of 100. You know, now you know, right, what is the importance of polity. Say how important it is, right? Say this is what the strategic preparation is. So நம்ம படிச்சிட்டு இருக்கோம், நம்மளா எடுத்தோம், சிலபஸ் எடுத்து புக் எடுத்து படிச்சிட்டே இருக்கோம் அப்படின்னா there is no use in it, right? So first என்னென்ன ஏரியா இம்பார்ட்டன்ட், அதுல எப்படி படிக்கணும், that's what the trick lies, right? Now if you look at this thing, right, mains, இப்ப மெயின்ஸ்ல வந்து how it is important, நான் சொன்ன polity is going to travel with you lifelong, right? See இப்ப ப்ரிலிம்ஸ்ல வந்து நான் சொன்ன 20% வருது, and it is a qualifying examination தான். whereas main இது main examination, இங்க வாங்க போற மார்க் தான் உங்களுக்கு, so it is going to be useful. So I would say that, right, so there are 4 papers in GS, so 250 marks is GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3 and GS paper 4. And yesterday I have shown you, right? So about what the 4 papers are, right? So and you have seen the papers, right? So சும்மா ஒரு சின்ன syllabus நான் உங்களுக்கு காமிச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். அதுல GS2 அப்படின்னு ஒரு பேப்பர் காமிச்சேன், right? The GS2 is what? GS2 in mains, if you look at GS2 in mains, right? So there are two things which dealt with, right? So one is polity and governance, and other is international relations. The second paper full away, right? The entire second paper, when if you look at the syllabus in GS mains, right, it is polity and governance as well as international relations. Where, right? So, or 20 questions, right? So 10, 15 mark question and 10, 10 mark question. So where international relations importance of international relations 50 marks have been asked in international relations, right? So அப்ப மீதி எங்க இருந்து வரும்? So where it comes from? அந்த மீதி 200 marks it comes from polity and governance. Therefore, right, in mains, right? So the importance of polity is what? 200 marks. Say 1000 marks க்கு நான் சொன்னேன் 200 marks. Again now you see, right? 20% of marks in mains. You see the importance of subject. Apart from that, yesterday we talked about essay. Say previously there was one essay for 250 marks or 3000 words. Now for the past 2 years the UPSC has gone for splitting the essays, right? Say section A and section B. In the first section A, right, so there will be 4 topics, right? So the 1200 words you have to write an essay, right? 125 marks. And the section B there are 4 topics, altogether 8 topics, out of which, right, so you have to pick up 2 essays, 125 marks each, right? So therefore if you look at the, right, so marks here, how polity is going to helpful in essay. Say polity area, so it deals with governance, it deals with so many things. Say here, right, you can expect at least one question, right? So one topic in the polity area in the essay part. So therefore here 125 marks in the essay part. Essay. So which means that, right? So even in essay, the knowledge of polity is going to help you, right? So therefore, by having a very good understanding and a thorough knowledge about polity, you can get 325 marks, right? So this is in this mains. Then what about the interview? So whether, right? So polity as such will be asked, right? Polity as such, Nana Sona, interview on the personality test. So where your personality is being tested, right? So personality test பண்ண போறாங்க. ஏற்கனவே நீங்க factual part கடந்துட்டீங்க. எங்க that is prelims, right? And you come across the mains too, right? அதுக்கப்புறம் இப்ப interview part. இங்க நான் சொன்ன opinionated part னு சொன்னேன். So உங்களோட opinion, decision making skills, உங்களோட personality தான் அசஸ் பண்ண போறாங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னேன். பட் இருந்தாலும், right? Good personality யார் அப்படின்னா, say a good personality is one, right? So who has exact representation of even facts and figures too, right? Say எப்பயுமே ஒரு விஷயம் பேசும்போது நீங்க தெளிவா ஃபேக்ட் ஃபிகரோட பேசுனீங்கன்னா ஆகும், அந்த விஷயம் ஈஸியா ரீச் ஆகும், ரைட்? சும்மா நான் பாட்டுக்கு பாலிட்டி என்னன்னு சொல்றத விட இப்ப நான் ஐ புட் ஒரு ஃபேக்சுவல், ரைட், அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் டு யூ. பாலிட்டினா என்ன, சோ அது எத்தனை கொஸ்டின் வரும், எங்க என்ன ரோல் பிளேங்கும்போது, so this is an image you get, right? So where you have a clear understanding, where questions about polity were also asked in interview. So அப்படி என்ன இன்டர்வியூல கேட்பாங்க அப்படின்னா, it may come from polity, that is constitution as well as governance. Say என்னோட ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இன்டர்வியூல கேட்டது வந்து ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டிஸ். ஸோ அதாவது உங்களை வந்து எப்பயுமே வந்து நீங்க இந்த பிரச்சனையை கொடுத்தா எப்படி சால்வ் பண்ணுவீங்க, அந்த பிரச்சனை எப்படி சால்வ் பண்ணுவீங்க கேட்கணும் அவசியம் கிடையாது. ஸோ நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இன்டர்வியூ போகும்போது கோத்ரா ரயாட் நடந்துட்டு இருந்துச்சு, ரைட்? அந்த குஜராத்ல கோத்ரா ரயாட். ஸோ அப்போ வந்து நீங்க வந்து சீஃப் செக்ரட்டரியா இருந்தீங்கன்னா, ரைட், வாட் வுட் யூ டூ இன் த சிச்சுவேஷன், ரைட்? ஸோ வாட் வுட் யூ அட்வைஸ் அ சீஃப் மினிஸ்டர்? ஸோ அப்போ பீஸ் கமிட்டிஸ் நிறைய ஒரு ஃபார்மாலிட்டிஸ் இருக்கு. இப்போ கவர்னன்ஸ் கேள்வி கேட்டேன், என்ன பண்ணுவோம்? ஸோ இப்போ அதுக்கு என்ன பண்ணணும்னா நமக்கு அந்த நாலேஜ் வேணும், ரைட்? என்ன நாலேஜ் வேணும்? லா அண்ட் ஆர்டர் தான் வந்து, ரைட்? ஸோ ஹூ இஸ் ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் ஃபார் லா அண்ட் ஆர்டர்? டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட் கலெக்டர் இஸ் த ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் அத்தாரிட்டி ஃபார் லா அண்ட் ஆர்டர். இப்போ நம்ம கோவிட்ல 144 போட்டிருந்தாங்க, ஹூ இஸ் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள்? இட் இஸ் a district collector, right? So therefore here as a district collector what I will do, right? Or as a chief secretary, right? So what I would do. So இது மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயங்கள் நம்ம தெரியும், அதுக்கு பாலிட்டி அடிப்படை. தென் இன்னொரு விஷயம், டைரக்டா ஃபேக்சுவலா கேட்பாங்க, ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டிஸ் பத்தி என்கிட்ட கேட்டாங்க. ஸோ விச் பார்ட் டீல்ஸ் வித் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டிஸ், ஐ செட் பார்ட் 4A. ஓகே, இது எப்படின்னா உங்களுக்கு வந்து டு புட் யூ அட் ஈஸ் as well as whether this person right is factually strong, right? இல்ல நம்ம திணறோமா, திடீர்னு நமக்கு மறந்து போயிடும், மறந்து போனா என்ன பண்ணும், ஐயோ மறந்து போச்சு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி டென்ஷன் ஆகும். சரி, whether this person is able to cope up the stress, இல்லைன்னா பொய் சொல்றோமா, நமக்கு மறந்து போயிடும் தெரியாது, சும்மா என்ன பண்றது, எதையாவது ஒன்று தெரிஞ்சது அடிச்சு விடுறது, ரைட்? ஸோ அது கிடையாது. அப்போ என்னன்னா பார்ட் 4, பார்ட் 4A, ரைட்? பார்ட் 4A இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணாங்க வாட் இஸ் செகண்ட் அமெண்ட்மெண்ட்ல இன் 1976. ஓகே, டெல் மீ சம் ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டிஸ். நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ட்ரி போகும்போது 10 ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டி தான், இப்போ 11 ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டி. ஏன்னா 86th அமெண்ட்மெண்ட் கொண்டு வந்து ஸோ இன்னொரு ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டி ஆட் பண்ணி 11 டியூட்டிஸ் ஆட் பண்ணிட்டாங்க, ரைட்? ஸோ இப்போ நான் போகும்போது 10 டியூட்டிஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ட்ரியில். ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் இட் பிகேம் 11, ரைட்? ஸோ நான் வந்து சொல்ல ஆரம்பித்தேன். ஸோ ஃபண்டமெண்டல் டியூட்டிஸ் வந்து எடுத்து, ரைட், டு ரெஸ்பெக்ட் த ஸோ நேஷனல் ஃபிளாக், நேஷனல் ஆந்தம் அண்ட் அதர் திங்ஸ், ரைட்? ஸோ டு என்கொயர், டு ப்ரொமோட் சயின்டிஃபிக் என்கொயர், ரைட்? ஸோ டெம்பர், டு சேஃப்கார்ட் என்விரான்மெண்ட், இப்படி நிறைய 5 சொல்லியிருப்பேன். போதும் விட்டுருங்க, போதும் அப்படின்ட்டாங்க, ரைட்? ஸோ இது என்ன ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இன்டர்வியூல. செகண்ட் இன்டர்வியூல பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ரைட், ஸோ ஐ வாஸ் ஆஸ்ட் அபவுட் ஆர்டிகல் 311. 311 என்ன பர்டிகுலராக கேட்குறாங்க, வாட் இஸ் 311 ஏன் அப்படிங்கும்போது டக்குன்னு ஞாபகம் வரல. சே அஃப்கோர்ஸ் இப்போ தெரியும், அப்போ எனக்கு உடனே ஞாபகம் வரல, ஐ குடன்ட் ரீகலெக்ட். ஸோ அண்ட் தென், ரைட், ஸோ ஐ வாஸ் ஜஸ்ட், ரைட், ஸோ விங்கிங். ஸோ ஒய் அப்படின்னா அன்னைக்கு காலையில் நியூஸ் பேப்பர்ல சம்திங் ஹஸ் கம் அபவுட் சிவில் சர்வீஸ் ரிஃபார்ம், ரைட்? அப்புறம் டக்குன்னு ரீகலெக்ட் பண்ணணும், ஒரு அடுத்த கொஸ்டின், சரி விடுங்க, அடுத்த கொஸ்டின் போயிட்டாங்க. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த கொஸ்டின் பதில் சொல்லும்போது எனக்கு இடையில ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சு, சார் நவ் ஐ எம் அவேர் ஆஃப் இட் சார், 311 கேன் யூ சே? எஸ் யூ கேன் சே. இட் டீல்ஸ் வித் சிவில் சர்வீஸ். சிவில் சர்வீஸ் எக்ஸாமுக்கு வந்துட்டு ஆர்டிகல் 311 தெரியல என்ன ஆகும், ரைட்? இட்ஸ் a shame, ரைட்? பட் ஆஃப் கோர்ஸ் ஐ ரெக்கலெக்டட், ரைட்? ஸோ அப்போ இவன் எந்த அளவுக்கு, ரைட், ஸோ ஷூடா இருக்காங்க, சிவில் சர்வீஸ் படிக்க வந்திருக்கான், 311 தெரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் வாட், ரைட்? ஸோ therefore here அங்கேயும் என்ன ஃபேக்சுவலா கேட்டாங்க. ஸோ which means that, ரைட், ஸோ பாலிட்டி வந்து prelims, mains as well as in the interview. So therefore it is going to help you lifelong. After you get into the service, what are you going to do? You are going to apply the rules and laws, right? So where you should have a pakka constitutional knowledge, right? You cannot break the rules. You can never be go against the constitution. So therefore here, right, if you look at the thing, right, this is what the polity is, right? If a polity importance பார்த்தோம் நம்ம, என்ன importance? Prelims, mains, interview, and we say it has a solid role in the preparation. ஒரு 20% வந்து கண்டிப்பா ரோல் ப்ளே பண்ணா 1/5 ஆஃப் அ ப்ரிப்பரேஷன். நீங்க பாலிட்டில ஸ்ட்ராங் ஆயிட்டீங்களே போதும், 1/5 ஆஃப் த சக்சஸ் இஸ் அஷ்யூர்ட். அதுக்கப்புறம் 80% தான், ரைட்? ஸோ இந்த 4 சப்ஜெக்ட் போக கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ் இருக்கு. ஆக்சுவலா கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ் வந்து சம்டைம்ஸ் தே கோ ஃபார் 15%, 20%. சில டைம் நிறைய ரோல் கூட போகும், ரைட்? ஸோ கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ்க்கு 20% இருக்குது. பாலிட்டியும் கரண்ட் அஃபேர்ஸ் ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்தாலே 40% ப்ரிப்பரேஷன் இஸ் over, right? So now we have seen the importance of polity. இப்ப I am going to say, right, what is this polity? இத பத்தி ஒரு brief introduction கொடுக்கறேன் உங்களுக்கு, right? So to understand polity என்ன அந்த polity அப்படின்ற, right? Right. Say constitution. என்ன சார் இந்தியன் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் தான் நம்ம படிக்கிறோம், பாலிட்டின்னு சொல்றோம். வாட் இஸ் திஸ் என்பது சே ஆக்சுவலி, ரைட், த பாலிட்டி அப்படிங்கிற வேர்டு வந்து, ரைட், ஸோ எங்க இது வந்துச்சு? இட் கேம் ஃப்ரம், ரைட், பொலிட்டிக்கஸ் அப்படிங்கிற, ரைட், கிரீக் வேர்ட்ல இருந்து. ஆக்சுவலா பாலிட்டி அப்படிங்கிறது என்ன, வாட் இட் ஆக்சுவலி மீன்ஸ்னா, இட் ஆக்சுவலி மீன்ஸ் அஃபேர்ஸ் ஆஃப் the Greek city state. அதாவது சாக்ரட்டிஸ், பிளேட்டோ, அரிஸ்டாட்டில், இவங்க காலத்துலலாம் இவங்க தான் கிரீக் திங்கர்ஸ், ரைட்? கிரீக் பீரியட்ல வந்து பாலிட்டினா என்னன்னா, இட் இஸ் அஃபேர்ஸ் ஆஃப் த கிரீக் சிட்டி ஸ்டேட். சின்ன 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 ஸ்டேட்ஸா இருக்கும், ரைட்? ஸோ இப்போ நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம் அப்படின்னா, சிட்டி ஸ்டேட்ஸ் கிடையாது, கிரீக்குன்னு தேவையில்லை, பொதுவா எல்லா ஸ்டேட்டுமே என்ன, இட் ஹஸ் கம் டு மாடர்ன் ஸ்டேட். ஸோ அப்போ இட்ஸ் அஃபேர்ஸ் ஆஃப் த ஸ்டேட். இதுதான் பாலிட்டி. ஒரு நாட்டுக்குள்ள நடக்கக்கூடிய அரசியல் நிகழ்வுகள், இதுதான் பாலிட்டி. இந்த அரசியல் நிகழ்வுகள், இந்த பொலிட்டிக்கல் ஹேப்பனிங்ஸ்க்கு ஒரு பேஸ் வேணும். ஸோ எதை வச்சு அந்த ஹேப்பன் பண்ணுறது, எது நடக்குது அப்படிங்கும்போது அதுதான் கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். So it forms a base of political happenings, right? இப்போ நீங்கள் டிவி டிபேட்லாம் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க. ஸோ நிறைய பேர் ஃபாரின் அகைன்ஸ்ட் பேசிட்டே இருப்பாங்க, ரைட்? ஸோ இப்போ வந்து இப்போ கவர்மெண்ட் கிரிட்டிசைஸ் பண்ணுறாங்க சில பேர் கவர்மெண்ட் சப்போர்ட்டாக பேசுகிறாங்க. பட் என்னதான் பேசினாலும் நீங்கள் என்ன பண்ண முடியாது, ஒரு லெவலை தாண்டி பேச முடியாது, ரைட்? ஸோ யூ கேனாட், ரைட்? ஸோ டாக் பியாண்ட் யர் பாயிண்ட். சே நீங்கள் இன்னொரு பர்சனையோ இல்லை வேற ஒருத்தரையோ வந்து ரொம்ப தரக்குறையா பேச முடியாது. இப்போ நம்ம ரீசெண்டாக போன வாரம் டிவியில் பார்த்தோம், ரைட்? அந்த மாதிரிலாம் பேசக்கூடாது, ரைட்? அது தப்பு, ரைட்? ஸோ இதை தாண்டி பேசுறாங்க அப்படின்னா ரெண்டு பேருமே லைபிள் டு பி ப்ராசிக்யூட்டட். ஏன் அப்படின்னா, ரைட், சே நம்ம ஃபண்டமெண்டல் ரைட்ஸ் படி ஒவ்வொருத்தர் என்ன பண்ணணும், நீ ஏன் ரைட்ஸை மதிக்கணும், நான் உன் ரைட்ஸை மதிக்கணும், ரைட்? So this is what the thing. So where இந்தியாவில் நம்ம இருக்கிற யாருமே கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனை மீற முடியாது. யூ கேன் நாட், ரைட்? ஸோ வயலேட் த கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷன். ஸோ why அப்படின்னா Constitution is the base and all the political affairs happens, right? So based on the Constitution. This is a linking point, right? So now, இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் better understanding தரேன். Constitution என்ன என்பது. இப்போ நாளைக்கு நீங்க எல்லாமே என்ன, you are all civil servants, right? Aspirants. So you are going to be, so chat. Okay. So Srihari Katnavar. So I will converse in English. Yes, yes. Okay, right. Right. So if you look at, right, so the state, right? Sorry, we are talking about the government, right? Say, if you look at India, so India became independent in 1947. Before that, there was no entity called India. It is called by the name British Territory, right? So this is a British territory. Say, is everyone comfortable with the audio? Is everyone comfortable with the audio? Yes, okay, right, I'll continue, right. Say, this India doesn't exist before, whereas now we call it as India. So India is a state, of course. So we have 28 states and union territories. This is also called state. India as a nation or country, in common political parlance, it is called by the name state. So it is a common term for all. United States of America, it's a state. India is a state. China is a state, right? So Russia is a state. There are 193 states, right? So now there are 200 plus states in the all over the world, right? To be called a state, right, it should fulfill certain criteria. So tomorrow all of you are going to become civil servants and you are called as government servants. Why you are called government servants and what a government is? To understand that, right, I will say something about the state. Say, we're not going much deep into political science, but here you should understand what a state is. State is a part of society politically organized. So we can say state is a part of society politically organized. Say, when we organize a society in a particular way, having some organization, some institutions in place, a set of rules to follow, it takes the form of a state. Say, for example, I will say you, Indian state and Indian society. Let us take these two things. Indian state and Indian society. And now, what is the difference between the two? Right, I'll tell you. Say, Indian society is something bigger than Indian state. Indian state is physical. Indian society is cultural. It is physical, it is cultural. Indian state has a boundary. You can call, right? So this territory. So you might see in the paper, China and India are fighting over the boundary dispute. Why is this fighting? Because India says this is my territory and China says this is my territory. So where it's a physical entity, right? So where people who are living within this particular territory are called Indians, and this is called a particular state. Whereas as a society is something different. It is a web of social organizations where not only state, so economics is part of their religion, culture, values, more, so many things, right? So marriage, so there are so many things, right? Family. So therefore here, the society is a bigger entity where Indian society can live anywhere. So even if you go to America, look at the thing, right? So till you get a green card, you are called Indian. But once become a citizen of America, what will happen? You are a person of Indian origin where, why you are called Indian? Because you have been identified by your particular societal ways, your cultural ways. So therefore here, Society is something bigger, or a state is something, right? So very much defined. What this state is, right? And you can disobey the society, but not the state. Say, family is a part of our society. Of course, we don't listen to our parents. So, we always do not listen to our parents. Whereas, if you look at the thing, right? So, say this state, you can never disobey the state. The state has come with a lockdown, 144. No one should come out. What we did? We didn't come out, right? Of course, some of we disobeyed. And when we disobeyed, what the state did, what the police did, they fined us, right? So they quarantined us, they made us to do certain things. So therefore, here, right? State is all powerful, right? So then what is state is? Say to fulfill or to become a state, there are certain essential elements of state. There are essential elements of state. So what is it, right? Say there are 4 essential elements without which you cannot call it as a state, right? Say what this is. So what is this element? The first element we'll see, right? Say actually when you imagine an India map, a political map of India, what do you see? You see a map with so many states and the capital city, Delhi, and other things. So first பண்ணலையே ஓ தானா மியூட்டே இருக்குது நீங்க யார கை வச்சிருக்கீங்க அங்க நான் கையை வைக்கலையேங்க ஓகே right. So then after territory, so we have another thing, right? Say population. A particular group of people living within the population, right? Say in the particular territory is called a population. Board என்ன சொல்லுங்க? Okay, population. Then this territory, this population, they are called by the name Indians. Why we call them as Indians? Because there is an body or organization authorizing, right? So that is exercising power over it. So who can exercise? The Indian government can exercise power over it, right? Why the Indian government is exercising power over it? As I said earlier, previously we are called British India or colony of British, and now we are independent India, right? So what this is? Say here, sovereignty. All right. So these are the elements of state. So where we have territory, population, government, and sovereignty. This is what we call as a state. The Indian state is, right? Indian state satisfy all the 4 elements. India has a defined territory, and we people living in the India are called Indians. Population, right? So the population of India is 130 crores, right? And we have a government, Indian government, a duly elected government, right? So we have now an NDA government ruling us with Modi as the prime minister. Previously it was a UPA government, right? So with Manmohan Singh as the prime minister, right? So and this government is a rightful, right? So ruler of our people. So it is a rightful ruler of the people. It exercises power over the people. Why it exercises power over the people? Now the British Queen or Crown cannot claim our loyalty or elegance. Who can claim our loyalty or elegance? The Indian government. So because India is a sovereign entity. So now you are clear the territory, population, government, and the state. Then you may ask, sir, where does the constitution comes here? How can I understand the constitution? It is here the constitution comes, right? If you look at that thing, right, Constitution is a basic law of the land. This Constitution is the basic law of the land. What this basic law says? Why it is called basic law? Sometimes it may also be, right, referred to as organic law of the land. So, what about the organic or basic law of the land? So, you look at the thing, right? So, it is so basic that no one can disobey it. It is so organic that, right, you cannot violate the Constitution. Why? This Constitution is the binding thread of all the four elements. Say, for example, right, Part 1 of Indian Constitution. So, Part 1 of Indian Constitution deals with Union and its territories. It says that which are all the part of India and what is this Union of India is, right? So, territory, population, right? Then population, right? Part 2, citizenship, right? What citizenship says? So, Article 5 to 11 talks about the citizenship. Of course, last year you might remember, right? The Citizenship Amendment Act, right? So, the Citizenship Amendment Act, it created a lot of, right, so uproar in the parliament, and we have, right, so seen many dramas over it, right? So, why? Because it defined who are the citizens, who are illegal citizens. So, population. Then, government. Say, coming to government, so I would like to say things. This government is an organ of the state, it's an element of the state, and it has three other organs. So, what are they? One is the executive, other is the legislature, and the third is judiciary. So, all these three organs form the part of government. So, here, if you look at the thing, our constitution is going to determine what type of government is we are going to have. Say, for example, this constitution is a basic document, I said, preamble. There's a thing called preamble in the constitution. What the preamble says, right? We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, secular, democratic, socialist republic, and to ensure all its citizens liberty, right? So, justice, equality, and fraternity, right? Assuring the dignity of the individual, right? And, right? So, unity and integration of the state, right? And we do hereby, right? We do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution on this day of, right? So, this on 26th November 1949. This is what the preamble reads. Now, what is a preamble? Preamble is introduction to the constitution. It has clearly stated the purpose and the nature of the government. What is the nature of the government? We are going to be a democratic republic. So, therefore, here we don't have a monarchical traditional type of, right, so government. So, we are purely going to have a, right, a democratic government, people's government. Democracy is what? It's a people's government, for the people, of the people, and to the people. So, therefore, here people's government. So, it says what type of executive we have. What type of executive we have? What the constitution says? We have a cabinet system of government, or, right, so we say council of ministers with prime minister as the head. Then you may ask, then who is the president? Yes, there is a president. So, therefore, here we have real executive as well as nominal executive. So, there are two types of executive in India. We'll come to that later, right? Now, the type of executive, the manner in which they are elected. Then legislature. What is legislature? Parliament. So, the central parliament have two houses, right? Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. As well as in the state, right? So, we have our own, right, legislative assemblies. In some other states, so they have legislative councils also, legislature. Then judiciary. There is a single integrated judiciary in India with Supreme Court as the apex court, right? So, it starts from municipal court, local courts, and ends at the Supreme Court. So, therefore, this is the governmental setup. Who says so? It is the Constitution. Part 5 deals with executive, right? So, Article 52, right, says that, right? The executive power of the Union shall be vested in the office of the President of India. It says, right? So, why? Because that, right? Then it talks about legislature, the parliamentary procedures, right? So, judiciary, there are so many things. Then sovereignty, right? I said the fourth thing. No outside power can pressure India to take decisions, or no outside power can, right, order the Indian people to do this or that. So, who is our boss? The government is our boss. And who is the government? We are the government, because we elected the government and we made a representative to rule over us. Sovereignty, right? So, why? It has certain provisions, right? So, where, right, the integrity of the state has to be maintained. No one, we don't have the right to secede, right? No state in India can advocate right to secession, right? So yes, it is constitutionally provided. So therefore, Constitution serves as a link between all the four things. Now you understand what the Constitution is. Now, what we can say about Constitution? It is a basic law or organic law of the land which binds the people, right? So the state or links all the four the organizations. Again, to go more detailed, right? I'll come to the next thing. So, coming to is Constitution, right? As the word itself suggests, right? So, what it does, it constitutes. It constitutes. Okay, so what is going to constitute? It is going to constitute the government, right? And it is going to constitute the organs of government, and it is going to, right, so define the powers and functions of the government. Say, for example, I would say, right, let us take the three organs of government: executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Okay. Now, these are the three organs which have particular structure. We talked about structure only. Now, what is the function of this organs? Who defines that? The Constitution defines that. So, what is the function of executive? To execute the laws. So, execution of laws, right? Now, what is the function of legislature? Law making. So, only legislature can make the laws. What is the function of judiciary? Law adjudication. Say, in case of any controversy or conflict or about the, right, so the meaning of law, who can say this law has particular content? It is the judiciary. Therefore, the Constitution has defined the structure as well as functions. Executive purpose is purely to execute the laws. It cannot make laws. Then who can make laws? Legislature alone can make law. Whether the judiciary, right, so whether the executive can exercise the judicial power. No, right? Article 50 of our Constitution states separation of executive power from the judicial power, right? So therefore, only judiciary can exercise judicial power. There is proper checks and balances, separation of powers. Of course, there are certain exceptions, so we'll come into that later. But so, generally speaking, right, we would say that, right? So these are the organs and these are the functions which is constituted by the government constitution, right? So it's constituted by the constitution. So that is why we constitute. What is constitution? To constitute. Why it can constitute? Because it is a basic law of the land, right? So now, again I say, right, why we need a constitution? So have you ever wondered why we need a constitution? So before the coming of, before independence, British ruled us. Do we have a constitution? Of course, we don't have a constitution on our own, but we had a set of rules and regulations to govern us, right? Say any state without rules and regulations cannot be governed. Right. Then you may ask, right, so what about the medieval periods or Mughal periods, sir? Right? Whether the Mughals had their constitution. Of course, never had the constitution in the modern sense, but still they had their own rules and regulations. So, of course, you might have heard about so many things, right? So, Akbar has brought this law, right? Mansabdari system, right? So, the Ikta system of the Khalji dynasty. There are so many things, right? So, any ruler, if even it is monarchy, they should have a set of rules. Go back to the time of, right, so Mauryas, Ashoka. What is it? Rock edicts, the Sarnath pillar, right? So what the rock edicts say? These are all communication to people, laws be communicated to the people, which says that, right? So these are the do's and these are the don'ts. Therefore, any state has a proper set of rules and regulation. And here, right, so why do we need a constitution? We need a set of rules to govern us, right? So in a country like India, right, of course, so we can classify the constitution in so many types, right? Even the communist China has a constitution. Actually, constitution has the fullest scope only in a liberal democracy, right? In countries like North Korea and China, they don't have a scope at all because they can be changed at will and wish. Similarly, so the case of Pakistan also, right? Whereas the country like India, so we are a liberal democracy where we have to, right, so give scope to all the sections of the people. And it is here we need a constitution the most, right? Let us take a small brief history of India. Say, the freedom we achieved. So, of course, the freedom at midnight, right, to be achieved, right? It's not an easy affair. So, it's a lot of, right, sacrifice made by our leaders, right? And out of, right, so blood and pain, we got our freedom. Pakistan, right, was gone out of us. Of course, right, it's a part of India, right? Say, it was, again, right, say, if you look at the thing, if can they have their own history? Where they start their history from? Indus Valley Civilization. Where we start our history? Indus Valley Civilization, of course. So they are our brothers, right? But unfortunately, right, so partition, the gory bloodshed in the partition, they are gone, right? Right. So now, in this situation, right, so it became a Muslim majority state. Now we have been left, right? Say, whether in anywhere, right, so officially the word Hindustan is used. Pakistan called them to Pakistan. So whether anywhere officially, so I am speaking in the terms of constitution, right, so or in the government communication, whether we use the word Hindustan. Say India is not only the land of Hindus, right? Say our society or India is a multi-religious society, right? What a multi-religious society? Or say, to put it simple, multicultural society. Say a multicultural society is one where a lot of differences are there. Say the difference is about what? Say the differences we have, right? So different religions. So we have all the major religions of the world, right? So practiced in India, right? And then we have different languages. See, there are 22 scheduled languages in India, apart from the official language of Hindi and English, right? Say, then what? We have different races. We have all the major races, 6 races of people living in India. The Aryans, the Dravidians, so the Mediterraneans, right? So the Mongolites, the Tibet, the Negrotoids, right? So Proto-Aztecs, there are so many people, right? All the major races living in India, right? When you look at the diversity of India, the Northeast is tribal dominated. Similarly, so we have some tribal dominated pockets in Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and the Madhya Pradesh, right? And, right, say, and the Northwest, say, we have mostly in Uttar Pradesh and other things, say, we have a large Muslim population. In the state of Kerala, Hindu, Muslim, and the, right, so Christianity. So the highest proportion to the population, right? So the Christians and Muslims are there. See, in all other states throughout India, right? So Buddhists are there, the Jains, the Marwadis are there, the Parsis are there, right? So there are so many religions. Now, right? Which religion will follow? Say it is not Pakistan to say that, right? You should follow only one religion. No, India is a secular. Say preamble says it's a secular. No one can, right? So make India a mono-religious state. So no one can make it a mono-religious state. Why? Because our constitution prohibits it, right? Say the fears are, right, so unfound that tomorrow India will be a Hindutva state. India can never become. Why? We people are, right, so secular, as well as our constitution says that India is secular. So all the religions has equal scope in India, right? Then about the languages, right? Hindi and English will serve as a official communication language between the center and the state, right? So whereas for the state, right? So you can use your own language within the state for communication, yes. Among the racial things, so cultural. Say all our rights, say there is a thing called fundamental rights in India. So where all our rights are protected by the state, which means that constitution is the binding document, right? So where all the population, right? So multicultural, multi-religious, multilingual, everything has a scope in constitution. So how, say the constitution answers the question. Say where we have a basic understanding. What is the basic understanding? A common minimum, right, agreement between us. Yes, right? I am a Hindu, you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, so you are a Parsi, you are etc. Yes, okay, right? You follow your own religion and keep it as a private affair, right? So the state will not interfere in your religion. At the same time, the state will not discriminate on your religion. So therefore here, there's a common minimum agreement say that the constitution provides, right, a scope for each and everyone in India, which means that, right, say our constitution is a neutral constitution, secular constitution, where everyone has a say, right? Say, I'll tell you how secular India is. If you look at the American Constitution, yes, of course, American Constitution is a liberal constitution. It's a product of American Revolution. Say, in American Constitution, right, as per the Constitution, right, say, the President of America takes oath. How he takes oath? In the name of God, in the name of Bible, right? Whereas in India, right, so how do people take oath? In the name of Constitution. We never ever take they vote in the name of religion, which means that, right, our constitution provides fullest scope to all the people, whichever category you are. You may be a South Indian, you may be a North Indian, you may be a Northeast fellow, right? So you belong to different religion, you speak any language, or you are dumb, right? So no one, right? Even dumbest person in India will have a scope in the Indian constitution. That's what the beauty of the Indian constitution is, right? So now you look at the thing, right? Constitute. So it is one need of the constitution. And what is the purpose it serves? So what the purpose is going to serve? Say, actually, if you look at the purpose, first of all, as I said, right? As I said, the purpose is to constitute, right? To constitute what? To constitute the government, and it's about the allocation of powers and functions, right? Then it is a minimum agreement, right? Among all sections, because it binds us, right? Minimum agreement, right? Then the greatest of all is that, right? It provides identity to the people. It provides identity to the people. So it constitutes it, right? So guarantees, a minimum guarantee is being given by minimum agreement, right? Then it gives identity to the people, right? So who are all Indians? So Article 5 to 11 describe that, right? Which are the territories of India, right? So Article 1 to 4 defines which is the territory of India, right? So therefore here, if you look at the thing, right, is the purpose for which the constitution exists. Now, this constitution, right? So as you see, is a legal and basic document, and it has many things. Say, to understand the polity and governance. So in the UPSC syllabus is about constitution. So polity is, again I said, the political affairs, and governance, right? To understand this polity and governance, you should be thorough with the constitution. As I said, right? A person who is thorough in constitution, right? So is definitely going to succeed in the preparation. That is why I started the polity class first, introductory class, right? So now we look at the thing, right? I'm going to go into the syllabus, so that I'll familiarize you with what the polity and other thing is, and then I'll go to the questions, right? Now, say everyone is comfortable with the thing. So whether audio is audible? Someone has said, okay. Yes. Now we come to this thing. Syllabus. Say, I'm going to show you the syllabus. Yes. What are things we are going to study? So our class, the later classes will include all these things we are going to study. Where introduction to constitution, of course. So I'll go for an elaborate introduction of the constitution. So not only Indian constitution, also other types of constitution, and a more elaborate presentation of the nature and functions and scope of the constitution. Then the next is, right, historical background of the Indian constitution. Say, actually, you cannot start everything from a clean board, right? So everything is not a whiteboard. Actually, if you look at India, the India today we live in is different from what India was, right? So 100,000 years before, or 2,000 years before, or some 200 years before, right? So we, as Surendranath Banerjee said, right, we still are a nation in the making. So yes, still a long way to go. We are just going, right? Now, India as such, right? So as a political entity, so never existed before 1947. So therefore here, right? So there should be some set of rules. And as many political observers say, we have followed the Westminster model of administration. What is the Westminster model of administration? That's the British model of administration. Why? Because so we have been so used to British rule for a very long time. And how the British has administered us? Say the modern system of administration started only in the 19th century. So and we our exposure to this modern system of administration started with the coming of the British to India, their rules and regulations. So therefore here, right? Today you cannot go back to the old laws. Say the Muslim states can go to Sharia, but we cannot go, right? Why? Because India is a secular nation, right? Similarly, right? So it is a modern nation too, where we rise above the religious interests. We are all Indians, that is it, right? So nothing can separate us, right? So therefore, in this scenario, what one has to do is that, right? So you cannot start afresh. You might be having some continuity. Where the continuity comes from, that is what the historical background is. So where we start from, right, the 1858 Act. Actually, there are many acts before that. To properly say, you should start from the 1773 Act, right? So it's called Company Acts. But the proper Government of India Act is comes from 1858, right? So where the British Crown has directly taken over the administration of India. So we will start from that and will continue till the 1947 Independence Act. This is what the historical background is. Then the next is about the making of the constitution. Say these are all very factual part. So where sometimes questions may be asked, right? So where I would say that leave no part in constitution. Be thorough with the constitution. Again, I say why I'm showing the syllabus is that, right? You should understand the syllabus. Say whether you study the subject or not, at least study the syllabus. At least be thorough with the syllabus. Then only you can identify the questions. So making of the constitution, how it is made, a constitution assembly, etc. Say if you take USA, the constitution was a product of a revolution. In India, it is a product of deliberation. So product of deliberation. What is it? We deliberately made an attempt, right? We deliberately constituted a constitutional assembly, which through discussions and agreements made the constitution. So there is the making of the constitution. And we have certain salient features. So what are the salient features of the Indian constitution? Say, of course, say the oldest constitution in the world, we call it as a, right? So the British constitution, but it is an unwritten constitution, right? The proper term is it has no written constitution. You cannot say unwritten, it has no written constitution, right? Say the oldest written constitution in the world is the American Constitution. Now we are going to write. Say whether we can copy from America, whether we are following the model of England, but at the same time going to have a written constitution. Then what can be done? Say we have done so many compromises and which made Indian constitution stand alone. Of course, many people say that Indian constitution is a pirated work, right? So piracy, they say. But I would say that it is a beautiful work, even though we pirated, right? But still, it is a beautiful work here, right? So where you can ask patent for it because it's original, right? Piracy. Say this constitution is unique in so many sense. I said salient features. Say, let me put it in an example, right? Either you have to go for a presidential system of government, or you have to go for a parliamentary system of government. Whereas in India, what we did is what, right? So we have a parliamentary system of government with president as the nominal head. You see, it's a unique feature of India. Then India is a federal country. Say the apt example for federalism is USA, right? But Indian federation is something where the power for center is more than the states. At times, India can become a unitary, right? So entity. So it's a uniqueness for India. We have an emergency provision even during the normal time. There are so many things, right? So to say a few, right? There are some 16 to 17 salient features. Then the preamble, of course, I said earlier, right? The preamble serves the purpose. So it's like, what are the objectives served by the preamble, right? Or the what it says. Say nothing but I started with the word, we the people of India, having solemnly. And then what I said, we do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. That is, this constitution is made by the people, for the people, and it is given to the people. So it is people's source, right? The source is what? Authority of the constitution comes from the people, right? That is why we have a thing called amendment. So whenever the people wish, that is, people cannot directly go, but so the representatives of the people, they can go for it. That's why we have an amendment. Parliament has the power to amend the constitution. Then we have, as I said, the union and its territory. Say here we are going to study the entire aspect. Article 1 to 4 will be covered. Say the prelims aspect. So I will be covering, right, the basic and the primary things. Once we go to the mains aspect, we're going to go elaborate. We'll go and study about the reorganization of states, demand for new states. Right? Say this single unit, the syllabus will be given only single unit, right? But a single unit is so exhaustive there, right? So it has a larger scope for prelims as well as mains. Then the citizenship. So we have seen fundamental rights and duties. Say, obviously, the heart and soul of the Constitution, right? And the most important part of the Constitution. Say, of course, right? Say, these rights. The governance part can be rightly understood only by understanding what the rights are. Say, to put a short example, what this fundamental right is. Say, rights are our inheritance. We naturally inherit it, or it may be given by the state, right? Mostly, it is a claim of the individual on and against the state. It is my say, state as an entity came only 70 years before. Say, for example, I would say that the state has banned Jallikattu, a sport from Tamil Nadu, some 4 years before. The people of Tamil Nadu went on a Merina revolution. So, and they got back rights. They say that, right? You came only later, 70 years before, but I am practicing this culture or practicing this sport for some 2000, 3000 years, right? Therefore, the state has no right to take over my right. So, right, fundamental right. But fundamental rights are what? These are so fundamental that, right? So, you cannot live a life as a citizen of India without this rights. That's why we call it fundamental rights, right? And we rights, of course, are correlated with duties. Then directive principles of state policy. Then the government, we are going to see the three organs of government. The state government, because India is a federal country, the same three organs. Then the local body, Panchayat Raj. So again, this is again a unique feature. Now India is a three-layer government, central government, state government, as well as a local government. Then federalism in India, center-state, the issues associated with it, center-state relations, interstate, emergency provisions, then administration of union territories, scheduled areas, scheduled tribes. Then, say actually, with this is what the important part of the constitution is. For the prelims aspect, this is enough. For the prelims aspect, this is enough, right? Again, sometimes they may go beyond this for some factual part, right? Say, it's other constitutional dimensions. So it is like the cooperative societies, official language, rights and liabilities, right? So everything will be covered, right? Then it's about the authoritative text, the Hindi text of constitution, tribunals, then special provisions, then constitutional bodies, of course. Say, when you talk about government, you should not limit it to executive, legislature, and judiciary. It has constitutional bodies also. So if you look at the mains question, you can find this, right? So the Election Commission, Finance Commission, UPSC, other things, then the CAG, so many commissions, these bodies are there. Then non-constitutional bodies like the Niti Aayog, and National Human Rights Commission, so now the Central Information Commission, the Central Vigilance Commission, there are so many things, right? So CBI, Lokpal, etc., right? So now, political dimensions, yes. Say, when you understand the legalities of this constitution, you can understand what a political party does. Say, this is where this political part, the dynamic questions have a role to play. Say, for example, so you might have heard about electoral bonds. Last year you might have seen in the newspaper. What are electoral bonds, right? So it's been issued. Why it has been issued by the government, right? So to facilitate transparency in party funding. So again, it is a current affair which is related to this constitution. Where it comes under Election Commission of India. The subject elections. Article 324, Article 326, right? So therefore here, right? If you look at the syllabus and other things, right? So scope, where constitution so has a complete scope. You cannot leave anything, right? So you cannot say this is the only important thing. Everything in constitution is important, right? Say, having seen enough, of course, one class is not enough. This is an introductory class. I'm going to go for more in the following classes. But as of now, what I'm going to see is that, right? 1 minute. So, yes. So, we are going to see the questions, some sample questions, right? I said, how to approach the polity. Sir, everyone studies, right? For 14 hours. Say, my humble advice to my students, right? So what I say is that, right? 14 hours of study, right? Even though it is possible, but it's not productive, right? So I would say that, right? 8 hours of preparation a day, including class timing. Including class timing is very good, right? So time for preparation. It is enough, right? So 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. So 1 day for you. So it is the apt, right, method of preparation. If you do it sincerely for 1 year, I would say that along with the right strategy, I would say that anyone can clear the examination because I know, right? Say, I have cleared my prelims the very first attempt, right? So which means that, so I mastered the strategy, right? By seeing these things, so there's a trick in it, knack in it. To understand the knack, right? You should understand the area and where the question comes from, how to link the things. This is what, right? So even now, if you give me the question paper, so I can go till 130 marks. Why? Because I'm constantly in touch, so I have mastered the system. I am saying that you master the system. How to master the system? Say you're going to take the examination, then you should understand the examination. How to understand the examination? By seeing the question. See the question, right? So I will say that the questions. Say, for example, these are all the questions asked in the UPSC, and you can find it in the books, I'll say, right? Say, approach, I said. One thing is there, right? So there are many books in the market. Say, Ubiquitous Lakshmikant. So he has come with the 6th edition now, right? So people are saying, Lakshmikant, sir, it's too voluminous, sir. So I have found everything, sir. But I never found a question in UPSC from Lakshmikant, sir. What is it, sir, right? You cannot find it because UPSC never goes for market guide. UPSC only goes for standard books. And what is standard book? I say it is NCERT or the government publications. So therefore, I'll come to that. I'll show you the sources, right? But I would say that by studying the NCERTs, 60% of a preparation is over, not only for polity, but for any of the subject. So I would say, if you are thorough with the NCERT, 60% of the preparation is over, right? What is it? Say the question. One of the implications of equality in society is absence of, right? It's a direct question, absence of, but it's a conceptual question, right? Absence of what? Privileges, restraints, competition, ideology. Say implications of equality. So you have to understand what is equality. All are equal. Article 14, right? So it's a equality before law, rule of law, which says that what? No one is above the law. Which means, what is the apt answer here? Society is the absence of. What should be absent? Privileges, right? So no one should be privileged. Everyone should be treated equal. Answer is A, right? Conceptual understanding. Where it comes from? NCERT, right? Then, which one of the following statement is correct? Rights or claims of the state against the citizen. Claims of the state against the citizen. Second statement. Rights or privileges which are incorporated in the constitution of a state. Then, rights or claims of the citizens against the state. Rights or privileges of few citizens against many. Now, again, it's a conceptual question. You should understand what a right is. I said a few minutes before. What is a right? It is inherent in you. Nobody can give you right or nobody can take your right, right? You come to the first statement, implication, right? Rights or claims of the state against the citizens. No, the state can claim duty only, not the rights, right? Then, rights are privileges. Okay. If you are privileged, then what? You are something special from the ordinary people or above other people. Therefore, no privilege is allowed in India, right? So, of course, there is exception. Article 361 is there, right? But again, right? So, this privilege is only for the dignitaries, higher dignitaries, right? So, but not for the rest of us, Article 14. Therefore, it is not. Then, C. Rights are claims of the citizens against the state. Yes, right? When you claim rights, only when the state is not giving us something. That is the right answer. And we see why D is not. Rights or privileges of few citizens. No, it never can be a few citizens. Say, when you talk human rights, it's a universal, right? Similarly, fundamental rights apply to each and everyone in India, and some of the rights are even available to the non-citizens of India, right? Then, which one of the following reflects the most appropriate relationship between law and liberty? The most appropriate relationship between law and liberty. Right. Who makes law? The state. And particularly the organ of the state is what? Legislature makes the law. What is the purpose of law? Laws are made to promote our interests, right? So we demand so many things, and each and every day state comes with a law to promote and protect our interests. So there is a correlation between law and our interest. What is our interest? To live, right? To enjoy the benefits, to enjoy something. That is the rights. So there is a correlation between law and rights. So nothing but liberty, our freedom. So what is it? If there are more laws, there is less liberty. Then, which of the following reflects appropriate relationship? Here you should see, right? Yesterday I was showing the model questions where I said, right? In UPSC, right? If you look at the 4 answers, they may be all the 4 may look like correct, but there should be a one more appropriate answer. That is what we are going to see. Here again, all the 4 statements are related to it, but which is the most appropriate one? Look at, if there are more laws, there is less liberty. So if there are more laws, then you have been excused, it says, right? Then, if there are no laws, there is no liberty, right? Then, if there is liberty, laws have to be made by the people. Then, if laws are changed too often, liberty is in danger. Yes, all the 4 statements are correct. Now, which is appropriate? I would say What is the purpose of law? I said to make us happy or to for the well-being of us. Therefore, the B would be the appropriate choice. If there are no laws, there is no liberty. Right? Liberty is what? It is not license. That is what it is. Indian state is a welfare state. For example, Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, we say right to particular freedoms, but these particular freedoms come with a reasonable restriction. You have the freedom of speech subject to what? Public decency and morality. So therefore, right? So all our rights are not restricted, but it comes in a regulated way. And what regulation is? A reasonable restriction. Therefore, if there are no laws, there are no liberty. B is the right answer. Then, in the context of polity, which one of the following would you accept as the most appropriate definition of liberty? Again, the question is liberty, right? Protection against tyranny of political rulers, absence of restraint, opportunity to do whatever one likes, opportunity to develop oneself fully. Say here, the context of polity. Actually, if you look at our polity, so what the context is, right? And the general perspective. Say protection against tyranny of political rule. Yes, it is right. But here you are going for appropriate thing. Okay? Liberty means freedom. When you are free, right? The government has come with the lockdown and curfew. So we have been under lockdown for a very long time, and it's going to end in May 31. And how do you feel now? In containment areas, in red zones, we feel suffocated, right? Say, I'm not having corona, but other people are going corona, for which I am being, right, so quarantined within my home, right? Say, I'm suffocating, let me free. You're asking it, right? That means what, right? Liberty is absence of restraint. Free, freedom, free from restraints. That is the apt answer here. Absence of restraint, B. Then, you see, all the questions we have seen are so simple but conceptual, for which you should have a proper understanding of the polity. These things you won't find in, right, the market books, right? Definitely you cannot find in the Lakshmikant, in the market book, right? This can be found only in the NCERT. Say, UPSC goes for some around 8 to 9 questions from NCERT, right? So which means that if you are thorough with the NCERT, there is nothing to worry about the polity. The next question. Which is the which is the if the following functions of the which is the not if which is the following functions of the constitution, right? To provide a set of basic rules that allow for minimal coordination among the member of society. I said basic rules for minimal coordination. Then to specify who has the power to make decisions in a society, who can take decisions, the government, right? Then to enable the government to fulfill the aspirations of a society and create conditions for just society, which means that what? The government can make laws to fulfill the aspirations of the people. Now, what are the functions here? All the above. The answer is D, right? So where sometimes, so not a single statement. All the statements can also be correct. Then, actual question. Which among the following take the oath of defending the constitution? Oath of defending. So there are things. Defending the constitution is equal to some protecting the constitution, right? Whereas upholding the constitution is something different, right? Having faith in the constitution is something different, right? So where this other thing. In this question, which among the following take oath of defending, right? That means here the executive can take this decision. Who is executive? Nominal executive. President in the center and governor in the state. The answer is 1 and 3, B, right? So I said, so judges take to oath to uphold the constitution and PM takes to bear faith in the constitution. Only the president and governor can, right? So protect this or take defending the constitution. Then, again a factual question. Which of the following statements is correct with regard to the administration of tribal areas under 6th schedule? Tribal areas 6th schedule. So of course, so it is a purely subject one. When you study, you will understand. Here the answer is B, right? Say, the answer is C, right? So each autonomous tribal area has a district council with nominated and elected members. So it has been provided in the 6th schedule, right? You will come to know that. Then, which of the following principles, which of them were described as Trinity by B.R. Ambedkar, right? So it is liberty, justice, equality, and fraternity. Trinity. Therefore, you have to find one odd man out. So, which might be Ambedkar talked about liberty, equality, and fraternity. So, these are the outcry of the French Revolution, right? Even our constitution was inspired by French Revolution. So, the answer is 1, 2, 3, and 4. D. Answer is D. Then, which among the following aim to promote the human rights? So the preamble says to provide something. That principle of state policy. So these are non-justiciable rights. Nevertheless, so they are also rights, fundamental rights. So here the answer is all the three, 1, 2, and 3. Then the protection of life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except upon the procedure established by law. Which article says it, right? It is Article 21, right? Then say you might have a doubt. So whether I have to memorize all the 395 articles, right? No need to memorize all the 395 articles. In your course of preparation, automatically you come to remember all the articles, right? So even if you do not remember all 395 articles, you can remember at least 100 articles, right? Which comes in due course, right? So with a matter of preparation, right? Say the first 51 articles, 53 articles, no one can forget because it comes with part and easily you can connect with, right? Say till now, right? So this because in the second interview, the another thing was asked in me, right? What is Article 123? This article 123, right? So it is about the ordinance making power of the President of India, right? So such things, right? So where yes, you should know the articles, but even not by heart, you will come to know by heart. So sooner or later, right? Then the source. So what is the source here? So as I said, the primary source is NCERT books, of course, right? Say they form the base. Right? Even if you come here, so I'll be teaching the basics of NCERT, then the standard books, right? So because it is a right way to approach that, right? Then our academy provides a comprehensive material both for prelims as well as mains, right? Then the standard book, D.D. Basu. I will call him the Bhishma of the constitutional authors. Bhishma, you look at the name, the honor, right? So because such a book, right, for tackling the mains, right, particularly you should have an understanding of the D.D. Basu. Right? So of course it is for mains, right? Then the ubiquitous Lakshmikant, right? Then Subhas Kashyap. So our parliament, there's a book called Our Parliament, right? I'll show you, right? So what are the books here, right? Say NCERT books, class 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10. So yes, right? The polity portion in all these things, right? Then in the class 11th and 12th, you have Indian Constitution at Work, right? Politics in India since independence. These two books you have to study. And those students who are opting for political science as optional, they can go for the other two books also, right? Altogether, there are 4 books in plus 1 plus 2. For non-political science students, Indian Constitution at Work and Politics in India since independence is enough. For those students who are opting for political science, these 2 books is essential. So all the 4 books are essential. And this is our institute study material, right? So where it's a concise work, but a comprehensive work where you get each and every topic is covered up to latest, right, current affairs. Then D.D. Basu, Lakshmikant, and Subhas Kashyap. So this is the source, right? For the prelims, this is enough. This is enough, right? And if you follow my class, right, we'll be giving class notes. You take the class notes regularly, right? And right, you read the paper, connect it with the syllabus, right? So I would say that, right, your knowledge in polity definitely, right, will be good, and it will help you in cracking the examination, right? Now, coming to the mains part. So I'm not going so exhaustively into the mains part, but a 15 minutes, a brief I will give you so that what you have to do. As I said, right, this is a stage by stage preparation, right? You have to cross the first stage, but still, nevertheless, the preparation should be holistic. Say, since you studied in prelims, it doesn't mean that this area doesn't come in the mains. No, there are many overlapping areas in the prelims as well as in the mains. But the only difference is that, right, you are going to study in a way where you can comment or you can analyze or you can examine the points given in, or you have already studied in the prelims. Say, if you look at the syllabus of the mains, Indian Constitution, again the same thing, right? Historical underpinnings, evolution, amendments, the basis for specific features, the union government, so all these things, right? One thing extra here is that comparison of Indian Constitution with other countries. So of course, right? So we'll be teaching that also, right? Say for example, the office of the President of America compared with the President of India. Say American President is a real executive, whereas the Indian President is not, right? Then, right? The office of the French, right, Prime Minister compared with the Indian Prime Minister, something like that, right? Then Parliament, Judiciary, so silent features of representation, there is a Election Representation Act, constitutional posts, bodies, government policies and intervention, that is polity, intervention in various sectors. If you look at things, that is governance. So here it is not only polity, it is governance, because whatever area which comes in touch with the people, that is why I said we thorough in part 3 and part 4, fundamental rights and directive principles, right? So because these fundamental rights and directive principles, right, are the one which are able, which is being is a standard of judgment to assess how the governance is. We talk about good governance. So what is good governance? The good governance, right, is what the people are happy. So, or the government works for the well-being of the people. So, the government is constituted by the people and is responsible to the people. It is accountable to the people. That is what we call it as the, right? So, good governance. Therefore, how the accountability can be ensured, how the responsibility can be ensured, how transparency can be ensured, right? So, these ensuring mechanisms are all part of governance syllabus, right? So, where we are going to study, right? So, this thing. If you look at the questions asked here, right? Say, the questions asked here, UPSC questions. I say it is mains question. So we have seen the prelims question. It is a main question. Say where it is like, right? I said the factual understanding of all the base, right? So yesterday I was explaining, broader the base, right? The stronger the structure will be, right? Since you are going to climb up, right? So you have to put a stronger base, right? Only a thorough understanding of the constitution will let you, right? So understand what the question is, why it has been asked, and how can you answer it. And I said yesterday about the mains, right? Write what is being asked for. Do not write what you think. You write what is being asked for, right? The content of the this answer is more important than the, right, length. That's what the UPSC, right, feels. Now you look at the thing, right? In the these are all previous questions, right? So we asked, in the light of recent controversy regarding the use of EVMs, that is electronic voting machines, what are the challenges before the Election Commission of India to ensure trustworthiness of elections in India? Say, it says, recent controversy is happening. Why? So now recently we have gone for VVPAT, right? So it is called, so a paper, so verifiable audit trial. So it is being used, so where you can get a slip, so where the slip will have the symbol for which you voted, the party which you voted. But there are some accusations that, say, some opposition parties are saying that, so to whichever party you vote, right, so it votes for BJP. The government has played a mockery on the people. So there's some accusation. Are they truly foolproof? So that was the question is, right? So now, right, what are the steps taken by the government of India, this election commission, to ensure transparency? That's what, right? If you are a regular follower of, right, the newspaper, the current affairs, you can easily answer this question. Say, for this, you should understand why and what are the functions of election commission. Article 326. One should be aware of Article 326 to answer this question. What Article 326 says, right? Article 326, right? So confers power on the Election Commission of India. The power has been conferred. It's an independent constitutional body, right? The power has been conferred Election Commission of India, right? So to conduct election in a free and fair manner. Free and fair. That means that, yes, it has a complete overall superintendence over the election process, for which what it is going to do, right? This is what the question is, right? Then, whether the National SC/ST Commission can enforce implementation of constitutional reservation for the scheduled caste and religious minority institution, examine. So again, it's a current affairs question. It was a case in the Supreme Court. So where the minority institutions, so act under the constitutional provisions. So they have been given, right? Any minority can establish education institution and run for the benefit of minorities. But the reservation is available for that. So the Supreme Court came with the judgment there, right? So then the matter was taken to the SC/ST Commission, where it pleaded with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was taken with the judgment that yes, right? So SC/ST should be provided reservation wherever they are, right? So this is one thing. Then, under what circumstances can the financial emergency be proclaimed by the President of India? Then, what consequences follow when such declaration remains in force? Say the first two questions are dynamic question. The third question is static question. Say when you study federalism, you will study Finance Commission. So Article 275, right? Right. Article 275, right? So let's talk about the Finance Commission, right? So sorry, here it's not about the Finance Commission, it's about financial emergency. Sorry, financial emergency. Article 360, Article 360 talks about financial emergency. situation in which proclaimed, and what are the consequences? Maybe this year, this has an opportunity to be asked, right? So because there was a many talk going in the media about India proclaiming financial emergency. Why? Because of the to tide over the COVID, post-COVID situation, right? So we hope it doesn't happen, right? Then CAG is a constitutional body. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India has a very critical role to play. It's a statement, right? The question says statement, it is given, right? Okay. Everybody knows that, right? Explain how this is reflected in the method and terms of his appointment as well as the range of powers he can exercise, right? Say nothing but it is about a explanation or analysis of the working of the CAG, actual working of the CAG. Say Article 148 to 151 deal with CAG. You should be knowing all these three articles. Again, I say, without conscious understanding, you cannot crack the mains, right? So when you need anything, right? What are the powers of this CAG? Because there has been given in the question, CAG has a very critical role to play. Yes, everyone knows that. But how he plays a role? It is about the efficacy of the effective functioning of the CAG. So a theoretical base with the current happenings. What the CAG is doing now, right? 2G scam, Colgate scam, everything. So you have to explain with the example. That is why it's explain. Explanation comes with a lucid example, right? Then e-governance is not only about utilization of power of new technology, but also much about critical importance of the use value of information. Say simply, right? Simply going for e-governance is a topic in governance. Say what is the purpose of e-governance? Paperless office, easy, transparent, right? So in a click of a button, you know everything, right? Say here we are going online. Again, it's a technology. Say what is the purpose of online, right? Without I am not teaching well. If I am going to say whatever I know, right, and what is I am going to talk irrelevant, right, then what is the use of this class? I should stick to the syllabus, and my class should be informative. That is the purpose of this online classes. Similar, you apply this analogy here. E-governance is not about utilization of power of technology, but about the use value information. What the information you get from this? This is what e-governance explain, because government has gone for, right? So e-documentation, now even e-court, right? E-chapel, and so many things, right? You have to explain, right? So how the system is functioning, as well as what are the lacunas of this. That's why critical examination is, right? Then whether the Supreme Court judgment, July 2018, so it was a last year question, right? 18, can settle the political tussle between Lieutenant Governor and elected government of Delhi. Examine. Say, there's a lot of news coming at that time in the newspaper about the tussle between Arvind Kejriwal and the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. So Arvind Kejriwal says that I am an elected representative, I have the power. But the Lieutenant Governor says that you don't have this power. Say, as a common man, you may not know. You may know that Arvind Kejriwal is the Chief Minister of Delhi. Then what prevents this man from, right? So acting. Who is this Lieutenant Governor? Then you have to know, right? So what 61st Amendment is? National Capital Territory of Delhi. What are special conditions attached? Article 239A, which deals with union territories, and Article 239A, right? AA and AB, right? So AB is Pondicherry, A and AA, right? So where 239A you should be aware of, right? Only when you know this article and the other things, right, you can answer this question by linking with the current affairs. Therefore, even to write and understand the current affairs, you should have a constitutional base. This is what, right? This is what, right? The tackling the mains is. Then, other question. Assess the importance of Panchayat Raj system in India as a part of local government. Assess, right, the importance. Then, apart from government grants, what sources the panchayats can look out for financing the developmental projects? Say, you know that Article 243, A to AZ, right? So it deals with Panchayat Raj, right? Where you have local bodies in rural areas as well as in urban areas. Here, the importance, it's a two-part question. Whenever such question comes, you answer the first part, then come to the second part. Assess the importance. What is the assess the importance? If you look at this article, this Constitutional Amendment of 73rd and 74th Amendment, it says it is grassroots democracy or decentralizing power. What is the importance here? The importance is about decentralization or taking the power to the grassroots level or to the people. That's what the importance. Now, to function as this grassroots level organization, they should be sufficiently funded. If I do not have the money, then I do not, right? So I don't have the power to reach my people. Then what should I do? I am depending on the central government, state government for the funds to come, right? Well, what if it is not coming? Then what happens? I have to go for my own resource and funds. How to improve my financial position? Say here, you understand the articles, the powers and functions, then the current articles which comes in magazines. It is where reading newspapers and right the government publications. Say there is a particularly a book called Kurukshetra, right? So you know Yojana and Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is a book for local self-government, where you can find articles where some eminent writers will be writing, so giving advice about right how to improve the financial conditions of Panchayat Raj system. You just write it as if you have written it, right? Then the last question. The Citizen Charter is an ideal instrument of organizational transparency and accountability, but it has its own limitations. Identify the limitations such as measures for greater effectiveness of Citizens Charter. Right. First of all, this is a governance thing. What is Citizen Charter? Citizen Charter is right a mandatory charter which should be put in every government office, which say what are the rights of the citizens and what are services offered by this office to this citizen. Right. So, for example, you know the OBC certificate, how to get an OBC certificate to go the Tahsildar office, right? Then you know the EWS section, the certificate for economically weaker section, for which you go and apply that, right? Where you will find a board, Citizen Charter. The board says that, right? Within 21 days of applying, right? If your documents are right, then your certificate will be issued. If not, right? You can, right? Contact us. You can go for an RTI, right to information, right? So where the official is liable to be prosecuted for his delay. But 21 days is enough. But still, there are certain circumstances, right? So which prevent them from functioning. Like what we happened, some disaster happened, want of manpower, other thing, right? So that's what the second part is. It says, identify the limitation. Yes, you can say that the citizens have the right to acquire that. But again, right? Say there are many factors which limit manpower, the terrain, right? So situations, right? So there's so many things. The limitations suggest measures to overcome it. This is what. Therefore, here, if you look at the mains question, right? So, or the mains syllabus, this is something which is so right interactive and it is so interlinked with the subject, for which definitely you should have understanding of polity and how you should know how to interlink current affairs with polity. So, as the classes progress, I will say, right? So, how to connect the current affairs with this factor. And first, we have to go for the basics. Yes. So, with this, I am finishing today's right the class. It's introduction to polity. So, tomorrow we will be coming with another subject, and it will be 90. So, it will be economics tomorrow. So, introduction to economics by Shiv Kumar sir, right? So, where he'll be giving a 1.5 hour session, like what I said, the scope, the importance, the nature, other things about the economy, right? So, see that and get benefited. Thank you. And for vernacular students, right? So, do not understand English. Of course, you can contact our Telegram number and WhatsApp number. Yesterday, I have given to you, right? So, you can call me and I can explain you, right? Okay. So, thank you. So, you can exit now, right? So, I can close the session. Thank you all.